And then closed captioning is available on the desktop version of Microsoft Teams. To enable closed captioning, click the three dots at the top of the window and click Turn on live captions. Unfortunately, captioning is not available for the web browser version of Teams. And I'm going to paste that information in the chat along with our agenda for today. And we'll start with roll call. Come on, I can paste. There we go. Oh, and I will also be monitoring the chat. And I ask that you remain muted and use the raise hand function. And I will be monitoring and I can call on you. Let's see. Okay. Roll call, and apologies for any names I miss here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Roll call. Aaron, if you can say, unmute yourself and say here. Sorry, I muted you.
Here.
Great,
Here.
thanks, Aaron.
Yeah.
Anna Bailey-Kova. Not here. Alina DeGrado.
Present.
Great, thank you. Larissa Gladding. Here. Mitchell Henke.
Here.
Montavious Jones.
Here.
Kathleen Minnick. Here. Ben Teal.
Present.
Perfect. Thanks, Ben. Barry Weber.
Present.
Great. Kevin Kushel. Here's Stephen Owen.
Yep.
And our public safety representative is vacant. With that, I will hand it over to Montavious to kick things off.
Okay, I believe the first order of business is approving the May 19 meeting minutes. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes from May 19th.
Second. I'm sorry, who started the motion? I couldn't tell.
That was me, Alina.
Alina, thanks. Thanks, Kathy.
Hearing no objections, approved meeting minutes from last month's meeting. Okay, well, welcome guys. Thank you to our guests for joining us. Good to see you all. Thank you board or committee members for joining. Always great to see you guys. So yeah, packed schedule today, so we're just gonna dive in right away. So is this you, Barry, or do we have somebody else for the trail?
For the trail, I believe is Angela Vicchio here? Is she in the weight room or anything?
Do you know, was she planning on attending in person? I just got a note that the building has been closed to the public.
Oh. Fun. I have not.
Okay.
So that would be tabled.
Yeah, we can
Push it back.
push it back.
Yeah.
So are we trapped in the building now?
Well, you can leave.
Okay, we'll push this one back until we figure out if Angela is joining the meeting.
Sure.
Okay. So then next on the agenda would be discussion on Cash Street right-of-way vacation. We do have
really quick. If she is here and waiting outside, is there a way to get her in? Just wondering.
Is she here and waiting?
I don't know. I'm putting the cart
Yeah,
before the horse, but.
Yeah, if she's here, I can grab her, but I have no way to contact her. I don't know
Okay.
the number.
But either way, we'll push it back. We'll table it for now. So Cash Street right-of-way vacation. We do have members representing Northwestern Mutual here today to speak on this. I have some points from Kevin Cushel at DCD. Kevin Cushel cannot make it today, but he did give me his bullet points that he wants me to relay to the committee. Again, these are DCD points, not my own when I read them. Did you guys prepare a presentation?
We do have some slides, yeah.
Okay.
Now, there we go.
Okay, if you want to introduce yourself to the committee.
Sure. So I'm Steve Bradkin, Vice President of Government and Community Relations at Northwestern Mutual. And I'm here with Jody Tamak, who's in our communications area. And before she joined us, she's a longtime city employee, led communications for the mayor and was the mayor's chief of staff before she joined Northwestern Mutual. So she helps out all manner of things with the city with us. So before I get into all the details, I just want to thank the DCD staff. I know it's important to this group, but it has been a great partner of ours in this endeavor and past endeavors. We've had construction with the city. The Commissioner Lafayette Crump and the mayor, the Alderman Bauman have been huge supporters of our project and approved unanimously by the Common Council a few months ago. So we appreciate the partnership with the city in our endeavors. We think the support we had in this project in large part is due to the track record we established with our Tower and Commons project a decade ago. When we took on that endeavor, really by almost any measure you look at it, it's been we think a great success, not only for us, but for the city. You know, economically, we're kind of exceeding all the projections and we're providing more tax revenue for the city, which will help the city's vitality for decades going forward. We think we've had a tremendous community impact. We like to think we set a new bar for community engagement in that project by, making sure small businesses, minority-owned businesses, city residents who are recently unemployed or underemployed played a significant role in that project. And again, I think it was the first time of a project of that magnitude that we've had that level of community engagement. And more importantly, I think the tower really helped spur a bit of a renaissance in the city. If you remember 10 years back, it was a time where the city was trying to get Kohl's to relocate downtown and they were unsuccessful in that endeavor. And there were a lot of questions, what's the future of downtown going to be? So we like to think that our investment that really helped send a signal to the community that downtown Milwaukee is a great place to be, a great place for businesses. And we've seen, despite the pandemic hiccup, a lot of new development, new activity in downtown. We are glad that we were able to play a little role in that resurgence. So the new North building, the project that we're going to be talking about today, is revitalizing a building on our campus. You've probably seen some news about it, but we think in some ways it's going to be another opportunity to send another signal to the community. Right now, post-pandemic, there's a lot of question about is in-person work still a thing? Will there be offices downtown? What's going to happen with downtowns if there aren't? So we strongly believe at Northwestern Mutual that there's great importance of being in person, not all the time. We certainly know that people are working a lot more flexibly these days, but to have one center of culture and a place where people can collaborate and work together, I think it's we think is very important. And hopefully we're going to send that message through this significant investment at a time where many companies are making the opposite decision and closing their offices. We also think, and this gets a little bit to what we're going to talk about today, that we think this project is going to set a new model on how to engage the community and how to make sure that what you're doing not only helps the company, but helps the neighborhood and the area around it. So we'll get into all this. When I talk about neighbors and how we impact the area right around our campus, for full disclosure, I am a neighbor of the project. I live in the Cudahy condos at Prospect and Mason Street. So literally I'm right across the street from this project. And my neighbors know I work at Northwestern Mutual. And if they're displeased with anything, I'm sure I'll be hearing from my neighbors about this. So if we want to get into the real, what we're talking about here, just to get everyone's bearing, here's a snapshot of the Northwestern Mutual campus with kind of Wells Street on the north, Mason Street in the middle, Wisconsin Avenue on the southern border of our campus, and Prospect on the east side. And the 777 apartment buildings is also a project was developed and owned by Northwestern Mutual, although it's not part of our official campus. The next slide, Mary, just is another picture to highlighting the Northwestern Mutual buildings. And then you can see Cass Street kind of through the middle, and that's what we'll be talking about, how our vision to re-engage and re-energize that area. I'm going to go to the next slide. So, as I said, what we're doing is taking this building, we call our North Building, and really to say remodeling it would be an understatement. We are essentially taking it down to its core and rebuilding it in a dramatic new way. Our tower building has been proven to be so engaging for our employees, such a great workplace. We felt that we couldn't have that A+ workspace for some employees, and then, let's call it a B-C space for other employees. So we decided we wanted to have a comprehensive employee experience so that everyone was able to be in a new, modern, engaging workspace that allows more access to views and sunlight than that building does. You can see, and I like using this picture because it shows how we are using the structural elements of the building. That you can see that one little piece that juts out of the corner, and you can see how it lines up with the infrastructure of the current building. So we get a couple of questions when we talk about this. One is, well, why don't you just tear the whole thing down and build new rather than build around this structure? The real core of the building is solid and functioning, and it actually proves to be much more ecologically friendly to do it this way. It reduces the carbon footprint of the building tremendously by reusing all of the steel infrastructure and elements of it rather than tearing it down and sending it all into the waste stream. So it's financially and kind of better for the environment to rebuild it this way. Another question we get is, boy, it looks like kind of a mini-me. Are you just mirroring the tower too much? But we're really trying to create a comprehensive campus and to have the new building, echo and kind of mirror in some ways our tower. We think kind of makes that whole comprehensive view, again, paired with our historic 1912 building on Wisconsin Avenue. We just think creates a really engaging campus for our employees. Next slide shows kind of how the skyline of the city will continue to evolve with that new building. So to zero in a little more on what is of interest to this group, the changes to Mason and Cass. So this is a view of what's there today. I've had a chance to talk to John Picard, who's the architect who designed the tower and is involved with his firm is also doing the North Building renovations. They'll kind of admit that if they had to do our tower and commons over, they probably didn't pay as much attention to the Mason side and the frontage there as they should have. If you've been to our campus, we have a great new entrance on the Wisconsin Avenue side, and we built a 3-acre beautiful park on the Wisconsin Prospect Avenue side. And we kind of thought that would be the main entrance, that we'd see a lot of people coming in that way. And again, beautiful space. But what we're seeing more is this entrance is being used by a lot of our visitors. And it's really not terribly compelling. In fact, you could drive right by it and not even know that you're at Northwestern Mutual. And in many ways, this whole street is a kind of a bit of a canyon. There's nothing very engaging. There's nothing, earth-shaking to it. It, in some ways, is almost like a little back alley to Wisconsin Avenue. And kind of the architecture of our existing North Building probably doesn't add very much to that. There's kind of these big granite columns that kind of block off the building from the sidewalk. Just not very engaging, nothing very exciting to that space. As we go to the next slide, you can see what the new vision of a revitalized Mason and Cass and what we're going to do there. So you can see the most prominent feature is this pedestrian plaza that we'd like to create. And then I'll walk you through a few different elements of this, and again, how we think it's going to be much more engaging for the city and really create a location and a gathering spot that isn't there right now. I point out that in earlier iterations of this, kind of the first drafts that the architects came up with, where you see that plaza, they originally drew a car drop-off circle that you could pull in, drop people off, and then go on. We pretty quickly said, we want this to be more pedestrian friendly. We want it to be less car centric, more pedestrian centric. And so we eliminated that and said, no, we want to, again, we want to preserve the bike lanes. We want to have it be much more so people can approach it, utilize this space, not just a place for cars. Along the same time, when we kind of made that decision, we made another, I think, very important decision for this project. We decided to retain Bob Greenstreet to be a consultant for the project. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him as an almost 30-year dean of the UWM School of Architecture and Urban Planning, led the Planning Commission for the city for years, has probably had more of a voice than anyone in our city about how to design a smart urban landscape. And we brought him on and kind of gave him one unique mission. So the Picard Chilton firm will do a great job designing a space for Northwestern Mutual. We wanted him to be the voice in our ear of what makes this space great for the city, what makes it more engaging, what creates something really special. It was great. I was able to be at the first meeting where he and John Picard, our architect, were able to get together and talk about this and the excitement he had of how we're creating this green space. And he described it as, hey, we're bringing the green elements of the lakefront and Juneau Park and Veterans Park up into the city, and we're bringing kind of a hub of commerce, kind of like you can see on Milwaukee Street, over a little bit to the east. It just thought it was a great blending of different elements of the city. He may be on the call, but if he is, I don't want to speak too much for him, but again, just wanted to make sure you knew that we were so committed to making sure this project served the city well as well. We went to that step. And go ahead to the next slide, Mary. This shows kind of the same view as though you're leaving our current Towering Commons. Shows this pedestrian walkway, and the idea is to have kind of a terrace with different type of paving to slow down traffic, make that unified appearance, again, make a large pedestrian friendly walkway. I point out three elements that will show you some different pictures of. Like straight ahead in this pictures that will be the main lobby, kind of where Cass Street is today. And we'll show you some visions from inside in a second. But you will be able to walk from Wells Street to the north, all the way through, down Cass. They'll be remaining through the building, all the way through our Towering Commons, and then onto Wisconsin Avenue. So pedestrian and bike, although we'd ask people not to ride their bikes through the lobby. Certainly people could walk their bikes through the lobby to go all the way through from Wells to Wisconsin. Next to the lobby, you'll see kind of a glass structure. We're calling that the Public Conservatory. I'll show you some pictures of that. That and the lobby are intended to fully be open to the public, like our commons today. If you've ever been in our commons, we have a large public space, a fireplace, adjacent to a Starbucks. So we're going to mirror that same thing, creating great elements of public space. And then next to the Public Conservatory, on the outside, we have a new terrace that's going to be outside gathering space for the public as well. And then beyond that, you can't really quite see it in this picture, there is space that we're envisioning that there will most likely be some outside food vendor of some type, a pub, a wine bar, we don't quite know yet, but a food service that would have some offerings for the public to have and consume, and either in the interior space, exterior space, that whole area. So again, trying to really create a destination and a little sense of neighborhood where one doesn't exist today. Next slide. So here's a view inside the lobby. As you're looking to the west, you can see, you'll see some different diagrams. We can show you the ramp that would go from one end to the other. So if someone did want to take a a bike through, they certainly just roll it down that ramp through the way. And again, the doors, on the right-hand side, is where Cass would intersect with this space. And then you can go through to Mason on the left. Any questions on? I don't want to talk the whole time. If anyone has questions, jump in. All right. So this is the public conservatory, and this is kind of the view from where maybe that food vendor would be. So again, public space, there would be entrances to the terrace from there as well. Or again, anyone from the public can come sit, relax. We find that in our existing commons, it's a great place where if someone has a quick meeting with someone from the public who's not a Northwestern Mutual employee, it's an easy place to say, oh, let's just meet down in the commons. Let's meet by the fireplace. I'm sure here will be, let's meet in the conservatory. People don't have to go through security, mess with any of that. And it's just a place where folks can meet with us, or if someone just wants to sit, have a cup of coffee, enjoy some time by the fireplace. Again, a great public amenity. And here's a view of the terrace. So just get a little zero in a little more on bike and pedestrian access. Here's a very high level overview. You can see the existing bike paths on Mason Street and Wells. Those are all going to be preserved. And you can see Cass Street already dead ends. So essentially the dead end is just going to be on the north side of Mason as opposed to the south side where it is today. In anticipation of this whole process, we did a little bit of research. We had our security folks take a look at our cameras that have a view of Cass Street to see how many bikers come up and down that street on any given day. So we asked them to look at a Wednesday and a Saturday just to get a sense of what's going on. We found on a Wednesday, over kind of all the daylight hours, we had 16 bikers go down Cass Street. We believe the majority of them were Northwestern Mutual employees because our bike parking space is in our parking structure right on Mason and Cass. And then on a Saturday, it was a Saturday, early June, I think there was a festival going on. We had 6 bikers go down Cass Street.
Do you have a count of the pedestrians?
Pardon me?
Did you have a count of the pedestrians as well?
We do. We'll get those. We'll do pedestrian counts as well. So just give you a little better glimpse of to what the public space is and how folks would traverse through the building. So where you see the red line, this is to orient you because the next slide is going to slice off where that red line is, and it'll show you inside the building, kind of at that space. So kind of get this vision in your mind, because what you're going to be seeing is the top of that sliced off. So we can go to that. So here's that same space, and this would be how pedestrians would be able to walk through the building anytime we're open.
Anytime you're open?
Yeah.
Which is?
Right now it's from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Including weekends?
Not on weekends, but I think as we see whatever vendor might be in that space, and you can see kind of that unknown vendor space, if there is a need where they want more traffic and people have it would be better to have that open, we'd certainly consider that. So this would be the way pedestrians could traverse through the building, and the next slide shows how bicyclists could make their way through. So I thought we'd also just mention that we certainly value the many ways our employees commute to work, and so as part of revamping of our current building, we have in the works plans that this is in our current Commons building. So this street that you see on the bottom of the page is Mason Street. We're in the works of getting ready to build a new bike room. That space is going to store 150 some bikes right on campus, have restrooms, repair station, water bottle station, all sorts of amenity for our current bikers.
That's for employees.
That is for employees. Jody handed me our counts of pedestrians. On the Wednesday, it was 332. On Saturday, 181. So, and this this is a little more DCD data than ours, but I just thought I'd share it, and maybe this is what you guys were asked to convey. I think it's important to note that as part of the TIF that's being created around this project, the city is allowed to use some of those TIF dollars that are generated for public improvements within a half mile of the project. This is the list DCD has developed on how they plan to improve the area with those dollars, with those $10 million that they'll have available. I'd say the vast majority of those dollars are going to projects that will improve bike and pedestrian access. If you think of some of the real troublesome places to traverse these days, I don't think there's anything more vexing than trying to get across Lincoln Memorial by Summerfest in Michigan there, where they're building the couture. That is just a really tough intersection to get through if you're walking, going to Summerfest. $6 million is going to go into making that a more logical and easier way for bikers and pedestrians to get to the lakefront, building protected bike lanes on Kilbourne and Prospect. I'll let you guys see the list. Oakleaf Trail improvements are going to rebuild the trail going from Juneau Park down to the lakefront, creating the sidewalk along the Lincoln Memorial. But this is more DCD's realm than ours, so I don't want to speak too much about it. And then the next slide shows a map where it shows kind of planned improvements. And then the red ones, I believe, if I'm reading the key of the coloring of this red are the ones that are being funded through this project. So with that, I know you have a busy agenda. I'd certainly be happy to answer any questions you might have. As I said, I think our past projects really set a new bar for ways companies engage with the city, partner with the city on a lot of different fronts. We think the elements we just talked to you about really show a way that you can partner with the city to create a lot of improvements for the multiple types of commuters and really improve a neighborhood by a project like this. We certainly hope you agree with that assessment, and if you do, we welcome your voice of support at the Public Works Commission or the Public Works Committee meeting in a couple of weeks. So again, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Before any questions, I just want to read what DCD has to say about the project. So this is from Kevin Kershaw, DCD. This is DCD's stance. DCD supports this right-of-way vacation and the project overall. The TID that will be formed will allow for much needed improvements to the bike and pedestrian infrastructure in the surrounding areas. Such enhancements will complement the Oakleaf Trail and continue to improve the pedestrian and bicycle experience downtown. These improvements will not happen without the TID and therefore will not happen without this project. There will be 2 meetings for this file. It has to go to CPC, Plan Commission, and Public Works. CPC is Monday, June 26th. While technically not a public meeting for this file, the commissioners tend to listen to public comments at this meeting. Public Works will be following Wednesday, June 28th. Public input for this meeting. This is a public meeting, so they will take comments. In order for this vacation to move forward, it will need to be approved from both bodies.
And then ultimately common council. So I guess I have maybe it's a city question, but the vacation, is there ability to put contingencies in it to ensure these things happen? Or is this kind of
He's asking what if, you guys decide it's not going great in a couple of years, having the lobby open to the public, you guys want to close it off to private access only, what's stopping you guys from doing that?
Yeah, I guess if it's a legal question, I'd look to city folks.
I mean, my understanding at least is that the vacation means they own it and they could do whatever. Or is that anybody else's?
It would depend on what's in the right of way, but I mean, like, yeah, if there's no, if the city doesn't have like a sewer or something in the right of way or something that they need access to, then yeah, there wouldn't be much of a contingency put on that.
Right, that's my understanding as well.
And that's a concern that we have.
Yeah, and I think even the degradation of being able to access it 24/7 without dismounting a bike or as a pedestrian, to only being able to go from 6 to 6 on weekdays is pretty significant as well. I mean, overall, I think, there are a number of great improvements, but that is, I think, a difficulty in the pedestrian experience.
Mayor, could you go back to the slide of the lobby? It was facing west.
Let's see. This one?
Yeah, this one. So would it not be possible to kind of lop off, 8-foot walkway that remains open to Cass Street through the corridor? Because where the bike ramp is, or ADA accessible ramp is, just ends at a wall. So if you just brought that wall in and had the other side of the wall open to the public, we would still maintain the access from from Wells to Mason.
Yeah, I think that would be a dramatic and expensive alteration to make to the plan. Certainly, so just end it and have like a little alleyway in between the parking structure.
Open walkway or whatever. I mean,
walkway.
it'd still be covered.
It'd still be covered.
To be too, I mean, you're just getting rid of a wall.
You're just moving the wall in, you're having.
That way,
or
it's
just
24/7.
moving it east, 7
Well,
10 feet.
And I think part of the challenge we are trying to create, for our employees, they'll be able to go into this structure from our parking structure as well. So then there'd be that little gap there. I think our designers would really have some reluctance to do that. It would kind of disrupt this vision.
I don't see the access from this lobby to the parking garage. Can you point it out?
Yeah, I think there's a little door you can see right at the bottom corner there. I believe that's where people coming from the parking structure would then enter into the.
There's a skywalk currently, right, between.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's going to go away.
Skywalk's gonna go away. So this door where this gentleman's standing in front of will go into the parking garage.
Yep.
Okay, and you guys want to maintain that. I get that. You want to have access to parking garage. Pedestrian walkway would not preclude having access to the garage if that was here. If the wall was just moved east, it would still have access to the garage. You would just have to walk across the walkway.
Yeah, again, I think I don't know if any of our architect friends are listening, but I think it would just really disrupt kind of the symmetry and the design that they have been working on. And again, we are more than happy to have people, pedestrians coming through, using our space. We welcome that. So it seems like it would be a major change when we're already, people can already very easily walk through. So,
candidly, this will be a major change to the street and a major change to public access. You're going to lose access for half the day because it's only going to be open 12 hours per day. You're going to lose
And
weekends too.
and it could change as well.
And it can change as well. So that's something we want to figure out, like what's keeping this open or precluding Northwestern Mutual from closing this off at their own discretion. So I think the public is giving up against its own area plan, which calls for not vacating streets like this. So we're really giving up what the public agreed to do this. We understand that, you guys are making a big investment to the city and have over many years. But it's got to be, we're trying to get it to where we can still feel comfortable accessing Mason Street, which is a vital connection to Oak Cliff Trail. It's one of the few east-west bike lanes. It's not a great bike lane now, but it's one of the few ones on the side of downtown. And we're losing that for, what's going to be essentially private space. My concern is currently on the southern building, the new one, it's open to the public now. But most people don't know that. I wouldn't think going past this, I can just go in here and hang out if I want to. So that's another question. How will you guys encourage people to use this as a public space? Because I don't see a lot of encouragement using the current public space as such.
Yeah, and I think we have learned from the Tower and Commons where now, there is a Starbucks inside, but it is not really visible to the public. I think that's why the restaurant food service we're envisioning now is going to be facing Mason Street and more readily accessible to the public without even having to go through more than that public conservatory. So again, we're trying to, really create a new public plaza and then create new public space here rather than take away public space. And really create an engaging destination. So we think that balance, it is a delicate balance, but we think net, this is far more of a positive for the city for what it's creating there, where it's just kind of a canyon. We think we're really creating a great amenity for the neighborhood rather than causing disruption. If you want to,
Can you say more about the canyon? Sorry.
Yeah, just that picture of existing Mason Street, or where we kind of view it as, not a very, there's really no sense of space there. There's no, other than just drive by, there's not much that draws you in, or, and again, we're trying to create something for the community.
Were those bike and pedestrian counts, for 24 hours?
For me, the daylight hours.
So 6 to 6 or something?
Yeah. Probably, I'm sure longer than 6.
But less than 24.
Yeah.
Or Mary, is 300 pretty significant pedestrian volume for crossings in the grand scheme?
I would think it's a lot of employees to be my guess.
It's hard to say. Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Okay.
I think it should.
For
a relatively quiet residential-ish street to the north. Yeah, it's hard to compare streets to streets, but yeah, it's a good amount of people.
But yeah, that's kind of like a sense of scale. Like this is it would be above average for the community.
For a downtown street, I don't know if that's the case, but again, it's a much different street than most downtown
totally.
streets.
Totally.
As a neighbor, I'd say, that's a dog walking area block.
Right.
Really, as we look at it, and if you want to look at, there's the map view.
Right. And
Really, the only place most people would want to go if they're going down that section of Cass, that we know overwhelmingly the majority of auto traffic are people going into our parking structure. And most people coming there would be going to Northwestern Mutual because that's the only place you can go without going east or west somewhere else anyway, right? So there's nowhere else Cass gets you to other than us, really. So you wouldn't be adding steps or bike pedals if you went on Wells, east or west, or you know what I'm saying.
Right. And my understanding is the goal is to also increase the number of bikes and peds, and so the volume now is hopefully only going to go up from here. And so that's why I think it's kind of our emphasis on maintaining that right of way. Because I mean, dismounting a bike is fine, but I mean, there's some large bikes these days and it may not navigate an ADA ramp especially well relative to a straight path through.
But, you know, maybe just thought example, if you were going, pick your spot, east or west, and you're on Wells Street already, like, you could just as easily go over without adding any distance, because the only place Cass takes you to is Northwestern Mutual.
If I could read some of the comments from the chat, from Ben, he says, I used to live a few blocks north on Cass. Cass was an important way of getting to Mason Street as daily bike commuter. I have serious doubts that anyone will dismount and roll their bike through a 1 block interior space to continue on their way. This would seriously disrupt the downtown street grid. Aaron says, our space does not sound inclusive. We all know architects design around cars, not people. Ben comes back again with, my concern is that the project exchanges public circulation, a complete street grid for public space placemaking, but space which the public doesn't necessarily know is public. Jake from the Bike Fed says Van Buren between Wells and Wisconsin will get a protected bike lane, correct?
Just answer that.
I think that's not
At
part
this
of it.
point, the Van Buren project likely will only include protected bike lanes from Wells north. We are evaluating into a conversion of Van Buren south of south of Kilbourne to Wisconsin.
And then Mary Beth says, I live on Cass and use this section and Mason every day, not to go to Northwestern Mutual. I like a lot of this project, but it is not bike accessible. Having to dismount means it is not bikes. By investing in all this infrastructure, we will see more people biking. And apologies to those in the chat. I lost track of the chat, but I'll voice your comments as they keep coming.
There's another chat down below.
Oh, there is. Oh, thank you. Mary Beth continues to say, I use Cass every day to go home, to go to Brady, to go to the Oak Leaf Trail, to go to Whitefish Bay, to go to the beach, etc. And I know I see Ben has your hand raised.
Hi, I just wanted to point out quickly that as a former resident of Yankee Hill, it was my assumption that Cass saw more bike traffic because the road surface is a little better than Marshall and has some better sight lines crossing Ogden and Juneau specifically, but also Wells. I just wanted to point that out for anyone who's thinking about the relative pros and cons of Cass versus Marshall versus Astor as alternative circulation.
We want to talk about our letter.
We can talk about after. Sure. After this, yeah. Any other questions or comments from the committee? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate it.
sir.
Thank you so much.
I think it's appropriate to take a vote on this, whether or not we want to support. We do have a letter that Mitch drafted, but how do you want to do it? Should we talk about the letter first, or?
I mean, assuming everybody reviewed it, we can say whether we want to move forward with that stance.
Sure.
An opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody's changed kind of where they stand following that.
Okay. So I hope everybody had a chance to review the letter Mitch sent out a couple days ago regarding our stance on the project. We will take a vote on the letter. It'll be sent to Public Works Commissioner, the mayor, and DC.
Yeah, we probably bring it to the CPC and Public
CPC will
Works
also submit them
to-
as exhibits to CPC and Public Works Committee.
Yep.
Currently, the letter, and of course, we all would be able to vote on this, whether to approve, amend, or reject the letter. But currently, as it stands, the letter does not support the project as it's
It does not support the right-of-way vacation.
the right-of-way vacation specifically.
Without
Thank you.
maintaining 24/7 access
Thank
to
you.
the public.
Thank you. So we can open that for discussion. Mitch, you want to further elaborate?
Yeah, so I think like broadly, like we're all, like, there are a lot of exciting things and things to love about the project. The letter is specifically focused on the file before CPC and Public Works, which is, should the city vacate gas between Wells and Mason? And right now, the letter suggests, or our stance would be, we don't support unless we can maintain that 24/7 access for bikes and pedestrians, outdoor access, so you don't have to go inside or dismount, whatever it might be. That, I mean, that's still kind of where I stand. But yeah, there's other discussion to be had.
I agree with you, Mitch.
I actually agree with you too. I mean, I do think there's a lot of other good things as a part of this in terms of bike infrastructure, but that's just such a big thing to close off access to that street.
Right, especially without the city being able to have any steps for recourse should it be shut down and have zero access for the public. So I think
That's
those
a
are,
great point.
those are the two elements. Like if there were, contingencies, I think I'd be a lot more comfortable, but as it is, as far as I know, we don't have any guarantees, or not that Northwestern Mutual has invested a bunch in the city, so it's not that I doubt that. But this is a forever commitment, as I understand it. There is no reversing it unless whoever owns it following this vacation agrees to.
Any other comments? If not, we can move to a vote.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Is there a motion for that?
Is there a motion to approve, deny, hold the letter?
I'll move to approve the letter.
Do we have a second?
This is Alina, I can second.
Should we do a roll call vote?
Sure.
Let's do a roll call. Aaron Ortega,
I support the letter.
support. Anna, nope, sorry, she's out. Montavious,
I support.
Kathleen, support. Ben,
Support.
Barry,
Support.
Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen doesn't
Okay,
vote.
okay, cool. Then that's all that we have present today.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought since it's the motion.
Wasn't there somebody else?
Yeah, I seconded, but I also approve.
Okay, and Mitch,
Yeah, I'm excuse me, also an I are approved.
great, thank you. Anyone I missed? Thanks.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Motion to support the letter is approved. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have the agenda in front of me.
Oh, yeah, no worries. I know that we've got some time constraints for one or two people. I have Lisbon Avenue project letter next. We also have officer elections. And then after that, updates, new business.
I have an update on Angela from DNR.
Oh, yes.
There was a miscommunication apparently, and she thought that the meeting was next Friday. So she is now requesting permission to speak at the July meeting.
Sure. We can or hold
Sure.
that one.
Did you have comments on Lisbon Avenue? If that's the next agenda item.
That was primarily drafted by Anna, but I mean, I've read it. I'm happy with it. If we want to, I don't know if Lisbon is.
Yeah, I sent it out. The
Sorry.
draft letter.
Yeah. But Lisbon, I assume, isn't changing anytime, or like closed for comment anytime soon.
It's just a lot of support, right?
There were some specific recommendations in there.
I believe about the roundabout, right? Or
Yes.
roundabout.
Yeah, of some of the design alternatives. I believe there were some.
I think it might be good to have somebody come and speak on that so we better understand
Sure.
the recommendations, both that DPW is putting forth and our recommendations for it.
I think that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen the letter come through.
Sure. So we can hold that one.
Yeah, I mean, Lisbon is still in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not.
We're not under a time pressure or anything.
No, we're not.
Okay.
Yeah, we have not gotten a letter
Okay.
to distribute, so.
And then next item I have is officer elections,
What's after officer elections?
work group updates, and then new business.
Okay.
And did we still want to discuss with the targeted improvements and the Hank Aaron State Trail, things that we were going to discuss that the targeted improvements committee had put forward, or that's something that we also wanted to table?
Can we talk about that with the work group?
Sure.
Okay, so that'll be.
Yeah.
Okay, so elections were supposed to be held in April. Mitch and I were elected on an interim basis until we kind of got a feel for the group and people had a chance to work a few months. So last meeting, some names were mentioned for people who wanted to run for chair and vice chair. So the table's open, nominations are still available today. If you want to put your name forth or somebody else's name, that is available. But let me go first. I've very much enjoyed serving the committee as chair, and this is all I think about all day, every day. But that being said, there is someone who would be a much better chair than I have been. This person does way more work than I do, is committed, is passionate, is knowledgeable, has the time to do it. So I'll go first and I'll nominate Mitch to be chair of the committee. I think, Mitch, you would serve like the chair and the committee just exceptionally well. I see your commitment. The emails I get most from anybody talking about bike or past stuff is you. So I think you do a great job, and it's my pleasure to nominate you for the position.
Appreciate all the kind words, and I would gladly accept nomination for chair.
Do we have any other nomination for chair? I think we'll put forth both the chair and vice chair nomination first, and we'll vote. Want to say anything, Mitch?
No, it's difficult because we're missing a few people today that might have been interested, but that is what it is, I guess.
It is what it is. That's true.
No, I mean, I would be excited to serve as chair. I don't know. That's kind of all I've got. I'd leave it up to everybody to vote or self-nominate. I encourage anybody to self-nominate too. If you have
Yeah, you
motivation.
can nominate yourself. I have a second nomination for vice chair. and it is not me. This person is the person I get the second most emails from. This person has already done so much in their short time on the committee. They haven't served on the task force, so this is brand new to them. And they work hard, you know, they get stuff done. So I would nominate Barry to be vice chair of the committee.
And I would accept that. As Montavious intimated, this is still very new for me. I know I have a lot to learn, but I've really appreciated the guidance from everyone in this group and beyond. And I would, love the chance to continue to serve.
Anybody else have any comments or nominations?
If there are no other nominations, we can go ahead and hold a vote.
Sure. We'll vote for chair first.
Just be a roll vote.
Yeah, I think it's a motion. I motion to elect Mitch as chair of the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee.
Kathy, I guess if you're there, could we do that since there's only one nomination, or do we need to hold a roll call?
I'm sorry, I was distracted for a moment. What was the question?
So we've got officer elections. We have one nomination for each position. Do we need to hold a roll call vote if there's one nomination for each position?
No, I wouldn't think so. You can just do a no objections if there are no objections. Yeah.
Okay.
And assuming everybody has accepted the nominations.
Correct.
So you make the motion.
Yeah. So I've made a motion to elect Mitch as chair of the committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
No objection.
So
No
hearing
objections.
no objections. So ordered. Do we have a motion to elect Barry as vice chair of the committee?
I'll move to elect Barry as vice chair.
And I second. And hearing no objections. Congrats, Barry.
Thank you. Appreciate
No
everybody's confidence. Hope to continue serving. Excited.
I know you guys are going to do great. I look forward to supporting you how I can and following after your leadership.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Yeah.
Great.
Good work,
It's
Monty.
exciting,
job.
man. I don't know. Democracy, man.
Action. Cool. Excited.
Next agenda item is work group updates and discussion.
Okay, so we can get started. Barry, you guys want to go with targeted improvements?
Sure. So, as we discussed or mentioned at the last meeting last month, there are some improvements we are eyeing with connections to the Hank Aaron State Trail. As we know, Hank Aaron is a real gem. It's one of the trails like cutting like through the west side of Milwaukee that doesn't really have access to a lot of other trail points. But, and I can say this also as someone who uses the trail usually daily, the connections are spotty and rough. Specifically, we are discussing, I hope everyone's got a chance to look at everything with the connections to the 25th and Canal and 32nd and Canal. By connections, actually, this way I mean trail crossings. Signage with 25th and Canal just has a simple pedestrian sign that's connected to a roundabout. 32nd and Canal, faded crosswalk, no real signage. And this is compared to even on Ember Street where we see different signage alerting to the trail and to cyclists or pedestrians, and then also like in the Menominee Valley, and then even as the trail continues into West Dallas and beyond. So I assume everyone's had a chance to look at this. I might be talking too much. Is there anything I need to continue to summarize, or do people rather just ask questions about what we have?
I guess, as far as like stuff we can do in the near term, I know we discussed, getting signage, is working with like neighborhood groups
Mhm.
in the area. Or
Yeah.
bids.
Right. So on that note, I guess we can also mention with the improving awareness, which was the third proposal, and that would just be both in the Merrill Park neighborhood, so along 32nd Street, and in the Silver City neighborhood, so along 37th, having increased signage as well, just so even residents are more connected to the trail, let alone other motorists and people passing through. Regarding Mitch's note here, so the DNR again is planning to have new Hank Aaron State Trail signage, but they're limited to the actual trail. So the idea here would be to use both area community groups and then also wherever the city could step in and increase that awareness for both motorists and trail users themselves. We do have some endorsements and potential partnerships for these, specifically with the signage. I just want to make sure I get everything here correctly. Charlene Moore of Merrill Park has offered her endorsement. Ms. Angelica Sanchez of Urban Ecology Center in Menominee Valley, Lindsay St. Arnaud Bell of Near West Side Partners, and Corey Zetz of Menominee Valley Partners. And again, I certainly can't, promise anything on behalf of other groups, but I know there's precedent for the Near West Side Partners funding for signage of West Side neighborhoods. And in informal chat with Lindsay, she had noted that there could be, this could be something that Near West Side Partners could potentially help with as well, with helping fund the printing of signage of, like Hank Aaron State Trail this way, 6 blocks ahead, etc. Angela Vicchio of the DNR has said that she would also be able to provide us with the templates just so that there could be a cohesiveness and a matchup with the existing signage that should be coming on the trail later this year.
So what are the next steps for us? What do we need to do? Is it that we need to advocate to push the city or work with community groups to do this? What's being asked of this group?
I mean, that's kind of, I'm like assuming everyone's looked at these, that's where my question is too. Certainly I like as a committee for us to get behind just like pushing for these changes, but in terms of like the actual like next step of to do what, I guess that would be also open for group discussion or just later group ideas, et cetera. Maybe that would be something to continue involving the strategic partnerships.
I mean, it sounds like it's moving, like, I don't know, there's much, like, our support, but I don't know, like, there's nothing that we need to, like, vote on or explicitly.
Got Kathy with her hand raised.
Hi, yeah, there was an email among the policy work group that had a couple of steps that could potentially be that we could provide in terms of action steps. And most of them had to do with research or identifying challenges and that sort of thing. I'm not super familiar with it. It was just, I didn't actually participate in the whole conversation there. But I would be willing to participate in like research kind of things that need to happen if that's what the committee decides that it wants to get involved with.
Great, and I mean, that would be something too, Kathy, for any of us on the targeted improvements, by all means, reach out and we can also figure out times that if you want to meet with us as well, or continue that discussion in any other format, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else, Barry, or target improvement?
No, oh, well, not on this end of things, but Kathy, did you want to mention?
Oh, sure. Well, we just inquired more because we noticed that the Discovery, the bike fix-it scheme at Discovery World hasn't been working for a few years. So we tried to determine ownership, and then Mike, we worked with Mike, and he ultimately determined it was actually Discovery World and not the city of Milwaukee who owned it. And so the Discovery World's gonna fix, said they would fix it. And then Mike said he would also look into being able to report fix-it station issues on the app.
And one of the current challenges, we don't know where they're all located, so we're trying to figure that out.
Okay, yeah. We were thinking about that too. Like we're identifying all of them, and then we were gonna try to kind of figure out ownership of them is one of the things we were thinking of.
Okay, yeah, especially if you're thinking, Discovery World one was a little bit unique, but if you're thinking about public, which, there are many public, if any left, there used to be like 16 now that may not be there anymore.
Okay.
But then also private, that's probably not something we'll be reported through our.
Yeah, that's true, yeah, okay. So we'll think about more about how to,
We would encourage
Deal with
the
it.
owners to have someone
Yeah.
contact them
mhm.
on it. It's not working.
Kathy, do you still have your hand raised? Do you mean to still have your hand raised?
No, sorry, I just forgot to put it down.
Sounds good, thanks.
The other thing the thing I've been working,
No, I'm done, yeah.
was figuring out maintenance agreements for things like installing barricades and currently buffered bike lanes, what that looks like and whether feedback could be a sponsor of it. But I'm still working on what that would look like, so I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you very much for targeted improvements. You guys always on it, doing great work. But that makes sense because Mitch and Barry are on the work group, so of course stuff is getting done.
In all respect, like also to Kathy and Ben, we have, it's a really great group. Look forward to having coffee with you guys second week of the month.
Yeah, great job, guys. Okay, policy work group.
Yeah, I can speak for policies. So Kathy, Stephen, and I met on Friday. We're still sort of struggling to get full group participation. But we had a pretty great conversation. And as you all have heard kind of week over week or month over month, we've been through this kind of like long process of trying to figure out where to put our priorities policy-wise, and we have like a pretty built out matrix of like a million options of, things we could look into. And I think this past week, we finally kind of narrowed down some of our priorities. One being trying to figure out ways to be more proactive and establish more protective measures for daylighting intersections. So like increasing the no parking distance at intersections. So that's sort of where I've put my energy the past month or so, looking at like case studies and best practices for cities that have like exceeded their, state enforceable legislation for this. In the case of Wisconsin, we have a 15-foot distance. And then what I've been sort of emailing with Kate, with DPW about is like, what avenues do we have for basically being more protective? We do follow NACTO guidelines, but those are not necessarily enforceable like they would be under city code. And so what would it look like to, amend city code to say to have like a 20 or 25-foot parking barrier, and like what that process would be. So I'm still sort of like trying to wrap my head around like what the process of policy change could look like. But hoping that maybe in the July meeting, I could come with more of like a, formal write-up of what I've learned, and like some possible avenues for, moving forward. So that's one of our priorities. And then Kathy, who's on the call here as well, committed to looking at more closely at the pedestrian plan and trying to understand how we are sort of monitoring and evaluating the like 100 plus action steps that are included in that plan. And just like understanding how DPW sort of like iteratively looks at that plan and like the progress that's being made. So that's sort of our two priority areas. And then as Kathy chimed in earlier, Larissa also committed to helping with the Hank Aaron State Trail topic that was just brought up before this through her expiration here. So I think that's the end of the month through July. So that's kind of where we're at.
Awesome. Great update. Any questions or comments or additional updates from policies? Awesome. Okay, next up then, thank you very much, Lena, for that update. Next up is major projects, which would be me. Similar to policies, we're still whittling down what projects we're looking at, including creating a criteria matrix for that. But we didn't want to get started on something. So one project that has been at the top of our minds has been National Avenue and supporting where we can. And so far that has included helping coordinate bike ride and the public involved in meetings, making sure we're getting the word out about that, getting as many people down to those PIMs as possible, working on, that's a different work group. So we're making sure that we're working with community organizations to spread the word. We're spamming people's emails with the public engagement website. And I don't know if you all have seen, I hope everybody has seen, released at the last PIM was the preferred alternatives for the street. And for the people who were there, chime in, please. I was very pleased with what DOT and DPW presented. Certainly exceeded my expectations for the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of credit to DPW and WISDA on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exceeding expectations would definitely be the statement I'd use too. I was wowed by it.
Yeah. And I don't think that's not because of the work this group has done and even people who aren't on the committee. Like we've really pushed over, last year to get it to where it is now. So I remember in those early PIMs, it did not look like this. Those alternatives were, DOT specials. But now we've gotten to a really great position. So credit to DOT, they took our feedback seriously, and it really showed. So now it's important for us to keep pushing to make sure, it doesn't change again, it doesn't get value engineered out or anything like that. So, the work is not done. But that so far is the major project that Major Projects is working on. I do think we have capacity to start thinking about another one. I'm not sure what that is right now, though.
I'm gonna ask around the group here upstairs when I get back up there and see when the next PIM is for any of us, so that we can get there again, because it was really nice to have as many of us here there as a political standpoint of like, we really want this as a city, because it really helps WISDOT and other people even around the area here, because like SURPAC was there, MDOT was there, Milwaukee DOT, whatever you want to call them, I can't remember. But they were all there and they all saw all this and they took note of it. And some of them were a little bit like, wow, is this really the route we're going? So we can keep getting people to all these meetings, keep doing this. They'll start realizing, yeah, this is what we want. This is what we need.
Awesome.
So, thank you guys for that comment.
Anybody else for major projects? I think that's the extent of it, for the most part. Okay, the final word group, we have just a little bit of time, so I don't think there's going to be much for strategic partnerships anyway. Larissa, are you on the call?
I don't think she is.
No. Okay. Well, then I don't think we have much updates for SPAC right now anyway.
Next item is new business.
New business.
Mhm.
Oh, we have the two items that we held over from today.
Lisbon Avenue and
DNR,
State Trail signage.
What sign?
DNR
Yeah, the DNR presentation.
on Anchor.
Sure.
Oh, and one thing that Angela did want to still present, and I guess with July, there would still be time to discuss it, would be the state fair detours and such, and updates to that.
Oh, like it, in that they would do it similar to last year?
I mean, oh, yeah, right. I don't want to speak for Angela, but I know that what she had told me is at the very least, what will be changing is, because that was just suddenly done, as we know, very abruptly, the closure of the Hank Aaron State Trail by State Fair, during the State Fair, and there were no signs to possible detours or anything of the sort. And at the very least now, what I understand that transportation officials will be doing will be, making sure that if things are closed off, that there are signed detours, and that there will be more of a process. That was something that Angela wanted to present on. But I guess that will be a part of hopefully next meeting.
And we've got some hands raised in the audience. Jake, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thanks, Jake. You went from the bike fed. I'm not sure. I saw Kate's hand up too. I don't know if she had anything, but I was just going to say that the kind of drafts that we've seen at the bike fed for what the closure is, routing it through what is technically Adler, but is essentially that State Fair parking lot on the north end. And they have, yes, said they will put better signage, more signage. And I don't think we're in favor of closing this in general, but it seems like that ship has sailed a little. But this reroute this year, I think, is much preferred over pushing people to Greenfield last year. That's the information I have that I've seen yet. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jake.
And Kate, I saw you had your hand up as well.
Yep, Jake's information is pretty much what I was going to share. I've been involved in helping determine the detour route. So yeah, it's going to be using Adler/Main Street to exit the trail to the north of where it is. Sorry, if you're heading west. And then going through kind of State Fair Park's parking lot, which is going to be restriped, the street that goes through there with bike lanes. There is a short section on the sidewalk along 84th Street, which they acknowledge is not ideal, but there weren't really better solutions. And then continuing back on, I'm forgetting the name of the street, that's just goes right into State Fair Park, south of the Hank Aaron, and then returning to the Hank Aaron at the next entrance there. So there will be more signage. They are also planning on holding an informational meeting, I believe State Fair and DNR, so that people can hear about it, and definitely trying to get that information out much earlier than they did in previous years, or last year, I guess.
Great, thanks, Kate. And Ben, I saw you had your hand up for a second, just in case.
I'm just disappointed to learn this, and I'm wondering if using Adler as a through street is an opportunity, an option, because it intersects with 92nd. I don't know. I don't have good feelings about this sidewalk on 84th business.
And Jake, do you still have, or mean to have your hand up?
No, sorry. Hand
No
up.
worries. I'll make sure.
Sorry, I can just add a little bit more on the using Adler. So the reason for going on, and it's Schlinger, now I'm looking at a map, that intersection is signalized, and so is the intersection of Main/Adler across 76. So that was the reason for doing that. People, of course, could continue on Adler on their own, but knowing that car traffic is pretty busy around the state fair, I would assume a lot of people would be more feel better about using a signalized intersection. But as the planning group has discussed, we know that there are people who are going to choose to use their own detours, and that's of course fine for those people who are more experienced and know their way around.
Mary Beth?
Yeah, maybe one the more productive comment or suggestion for those who are in contact with them. I mean, people aren't just biking through it, trying to bike also to the state fair. So if we're doing better signage about a detour, I think really good signage about where bike parking is, how to actually get to the state fair. That was a problem for several people I know who tried to even just go to the event. So that seems like a kind of oversight too. The second is, my understanding is that this is relatively new, this closure of the Hank Aaron during the state fair, and I would encourage whoever to push back on that. I'm not really convinced by the security argument, to be honest, unless there's something we really don't know about. So it seems like a new thing. I think we need a little bit more oversight into why that decision is being made to close off a major thoroughfare, and why that's not happening. I don't know. So I just really think we should be pushing back on just taking this as an obvious, of course it should be closed, and we should just believe that that's a good reason. So that's all.
Agree.
And then I just want to voice. Go ahead, Jake.
Oh, I'm sorry. I agree with Mary Beth. I think we're going to have someone explain that, though it's going to have to be like the county sheriffs or someone like that, because what I was under the impression of last year was I'm making air quotes here, like believe that there were credible threats to some sort of either gun or driving a van through people or there. So they're at least saying they've received threats or concerns. So I guess if we wanted to hear more of an explanation behind this, they're going to have to give us more details. And I don't know what course of action we have to require, any information being provided, or if that's something that they are just going to say, we don't want to, speak to that to encourage or whatever language police departments would use around that. But that's just, again, some more information that I've heard.
I'll just add quickly that it would be State Fair Park. They have their own police force. That is who is making that decision. So I guess just if this is something that PBAC is interested in investigating more, you could potentially request that they speak to it. Angela can definitely provide some more information, but I think Angela is, based on the meetings I've been in, also trying to push back a bit on it. So it could be helpful to request State Fair Park staff presence.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to voice some of the comments in the chat. Ben said, great point. Thanks, Kate. I think to an earlier comment, and then followed up with, this is just all around disappointing, and I hope we can release a unified criticism to prevent this from happening in 2024. Mike Brady said, closure of trail is a disaster waiting to happen. There's no good alternative. State Fair and DOT should be ashamed and responsible. Any threats on trail are similar to threats through their parking lots.
I agree with all that. And also, if anybody actually did go through there last year and tried to get through, you'd notice that they had a police at either end at the closures. So what they're talking about security, I don't know, because either one of those can look either way and see if somebody went off the trail. And both of them had some sort of vehicle to go get that person right away. So I don't think that's a credible thing to say, and shutting it down it's a bike highway. Like, I use it every day, and with a detour, I won't use it, period, because it is way too dangerous to get around that, especially during state fair.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, well,
Next month.
Yeah, I
next
think
month, yeah,
about it
for
next
sure.
month.
Any other, I think we can move on to announcements now, just in the last couple of minutes that we have. Any upcoming events? Bike Fed?
Every month, critical mass, last Friday of the month, June 30th this month, 6 p.m. Red Arrow Park.
What's the route? This,
Route is yet to be determined, as I understand it. But it'll be short-ish, dozen or so miles. Slow roll, fun.
is it always gonna start at Red Arrow?
Yep, it'll always start at Red Arrow at 6 on the last Friday.
Somebody vandalized my bike with a critical mass sticker. No, it wasn't a sticker. It was a card, but and I kept it on there.
Oh, a business card?
Yeah, I think it was you.
It was not. Saw people handing them out.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, hearing no objections, this meeting has been adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
Someone type it. Congratulations, DCD gets all the fancy. Thank you so much. Good work. You get more of it.
I can't be here next week, next time though, I gotta make sure I note that, because I'll be biking with the kiddos on the trail.
Steam lines?
That'll be impossible for me to like, okay guys, I'm here and I just wanna add,
It caused a water.
So that's when you were gonna have
Right down here.
them come.
Just